Puria, Nukawari Kori Kori. Hello and welcome to Wadi Wadi country.
My name's Cain Chaplin. I'm from around this area. I was born in Swan Hill. Well, Swan Hill's in northwest Victoria, in the Loddon Mallee region. Naivanifera Park is actually probably about 25 k's north of Swan Hill. At the moment we're actually paddling along what is the Billabong and along the floodplains through Vinifera. We've been in drought for 10-15 years. I think it's a big shock factor too for the trees, especially those big old red gums. You know, we lost a lot of the old big ones due to stress and lack of water and lack of nourishment. Since the drought, a lot of the birds, species of birds and animals, weren't around as much. But now, since we've had the water back, I've actually noticed a fair few of the old bird species coming back to nest. I always spoke to, my younger brothers and my girls, and always told them stories about, when the floods were on the floodplain. I think they had some sort of idea in their head what it looked like, but never knew how good it really looked until they actually seen it for themselves. We can bring our kids out and show them plants like the old man weed, the nardoo seeds, and the bush tomato, and it just helps us to follow on the traditional practices, pass the knowledge on. I want my kids and my grandkids to enjoy the same benefits I had growing up here and spending time out here. And I think that's right across the board, whether it's Indigenous, non-Indigenous. All water allocations usually are controlled by Mallee Catchment Management Authority. Usually all comes through them. With Park Victoria as the land managers. But we haven't really had any water in here, because usually you got more iconic sites like Cain National Park. Naivanifera really hasn't been high on the list. To us, it's as important as what Cain or one of the bigger places are. The real frustrating part about it is it's not the guys at the local office that make the decision, it's down Melbourne. They're making decisions about an area they probably have never been to. And all the information they get is just what on paper, or like a desktop study. And what frustrates me the most, you can never really understand the land or the area until you've actually been there and walked across it. Well, you've got people like my sister, Uncle Sam, that have been doing this I've been doing this since I could walk. Uncle Sam's been doing it for over 30 years, and most of that was, without being paid and, using his own resources. environmental flows is basically enough to keep things going. But see, cultural flows could be used as something like use of putting it across the floodplain to help regrowth of traditional plants, or pump more water into like a floodplain where we're sitting. It helps with the rebreeding of the fish species like the cod, golden perch. It also helps with regrowth of young saplings of the river red gums. Because we've had lack of water, the seeds have dropped and then saplings have started to come up and they're in a big cluster. But now we've got water in it, the water will help manage them from growing in a big cluster, and it helps the older trees get the nutrients and that they need. But for that to happen, we need to have natural cycle of water and flooding to come through. And if we can't get it naturally, then have a strategy in place. Best one to judge was actually nature itself and just the natural cycle. And I think the best way to do it is try and mimic it as best we can, naturally, without making too much of a disturbance with it.
My name's Arthur Edwards, Wadi Wadi man. A lot of us were institutionalised, taken away from home and dispersed and spread all over the country. And a lot of us are sort of just finding our way back home today. I have seen this river change enormously over the years. I used to see platypus playing in the waters along here on our morning walks to school. The river to me is like a main artery to your heart, I suppose. It's our existence. It is a part of us and we are a part of it. The water, the land, the trees, everything. I guess it's up to community people, elders particularly, to sit down and talk about water management, get involved.
My Gabbar name, white name is Edward William Murray. Nickname Smokey Murray, and I was given the name Girrawal by one of my dad's younger brothers. Lived on the mission, started school here and walked along this track here to go to school. I remember my mum's father, grandfather Kirby, spearfishing with a steel spear that he'd made from what was called bull wire. It was probably as thick as my thumb, and it had it flattened out and had barbs on the end. And he was standing on a log down below the mission spearfishing, so you could see fish clearly, and yabbies and everything in the river very clearly. You could see the bottom of the river. Then along the lignum bushes, we'd go and collect the eggs of the different water birds that were nesting on top of the bushes. So there's plenty of food, always plenty of food. It's very, very sad to see the way the river is, and you can't drink this water. And I don't know whether it'd even be safe to drink if you got a billy and boiled it. I mean, it's not safe to drink, let alone for little creatures like platypus. And the water rats, they were hundreds of them here. You could hear them late in the evening cracking mussels and on the logs along the rivers. You don't hear that anymore, they're all gone. So a lot of things have disappeared out of the river systems. Large irrigation schemes with cotton and orchards where drainage runs back into the river is part of the problem with toxic levels and the algae blooms that we have in the rivers and lake systems these days is caused mainly by fertilisers, especially the blue-green algae. The irrigators really do have to give up some of their water, and instead of wanting to increase their allocations all the time, they have to start decreasing and making sure they make better use of what they have. The catchment management authorities, they come and give a lot of lip service, but when they go away from here, that's it. They don't. There's nothing much changing. We've looked after the rivers and the environment since the beginning of time in this country, so I think we'd know a bit about it as well. Well, it'd be amazing for kids to come to the river and be able to see the bottom. That'd be really something for them to see. I don't know whether we'll see it in my lifetime, but it'd be nice to think that we could get back to that stage to get our rivers looking that healthy again.
Hello, my name's Latiesha.
My name's Cianna,
My name's Jonanne.
and we're from the Wadi Wadi tribe in Swan.
Represent now.
Well, there was a big flood, and Willy Wagtail flew over and found a strange animal, the platypus, and Willy Wagtail told all the animals about the platypus, and they all wanted them to, like, the lizard and the snake were saying he should be with us because he lays eggs like us, and the fish were saying that he should be with us because he swims, and the birds were saying he should be with us because he has a beak like us.
We are actually looking at one of the original bark canoes. This is what they would be using generally, for your fishing, hunting around the area. You've got a bigger one underneath, which would be more for transporting people like your elders and stuff like that. People of importance, really.
My name's Jacinta Chaplin. I'm from Wadi Wadi country. I've lived here all my life. A lot of the time we go down to the river to be with family and get away from the pressures of everyday life. We do have a lot of sorry time down the river, a lot of celebrations, and it's a good place to take the kids down and show them stuff, teach them about the plants and the animals. Before the normal floods come, they put a pump in and flooded out the river, and it was no good how they done it. Like, the forest did need it and everything, but they done it at the wrong time of the year, which I see muck things up. And then when the floods did come, it just went a bit crazy. And it's going to take longer for the floods to come down because of that. I see it's a lot of waste from them because they use a lot of water they didn't have to. Then there was no consultations with us. If they had to come and talk to me or Cain or even Uncle Sam or anybody, they would have been told that not to do it like that. In their sense, they started off doing the flood, but they done it the wrong way around, which means the streams and everything filled up the wrong way instead of it all flushing out, and it could have cleaned itself out. They should have done some controlled burning before they tried to flood it, which would have cleaned up the waterbeds when they did flood it, and then the extra water come down. Wouldn't have had all that black water. So what I like to do with the kids is take them down to the forest. I don't have no iPods, none of that sort of stuff. All the kids just come along, we walk from one end to the other, have a feed at the end. But you take them and you show them the different birds and they've just got to sit there and watch them feed and what they do. Because if they understand that, even if they were looking for worms, if they knew where that animal was getting the worm from, they could go and get the worms to go fishing. The lizards, the behaviour of the lizards, like you know if the lizards and if you get a spider or a few spiders inside or the ants come inside, you know it's going to rain. It's sort of like that. If you watch where the animals feed and if they change their pattern, that means something's going to change around them. I live with my daughter and my nieces and nephews every day. I see them every day. I spend weekends with them. But when you're down the forest and you've got to, you know, prepare yourself for the day and get food and wood and all them sort of things, you get to spend that quality time with them with no distractions of what TV show is going to be on or, you know, video games or anything like that. You get to spend real time with them and you get to know who they really are. And not only that, you get to teach them stuff like how to light a fire and how to cook a feed and all that sort of stuff when they haven't got much. Aboriginal people, they have their totems, and for us not to have our own totem on our own country, it's sort of it feels like a bit of a kick in the guts. When if we had our totem, it will make it feel more worthwhile. That's why I think the water is really important with us, because if the water was to run properly the way it's meant to, without any locks and without any, you know, pumps and that keep happening, would have the water allocation that would allow for the creeks and the rivers to be full, do the normal cycle, then we'll be able to, like the platypus would be able to breed properly. When I was about 13, my uncle took me down and showed me the platypus, and he said, this is your totem, you got to protect it, always make sure it's safe. And then because of things out of my control, I can't take my daughter down and show her, or my younger brothers or my nieces and nephews, can't take them and show them this is your platypus. They have to go to a zoo or somewhere to see it, or, you know, see it on TV or whatever. And so it is, it gets to you, and it's a thing that makes you want to fight even harder, because we should be able to do that, because it is our story, and it is what we're supposed to hand down, and not to have it there, it sort of feels like we're not doing our job. And even with the different plants and that aren't in the forest now, when I was a kid I got shown, and now I have to go searching for the certain plants to show my daughter, and then it feels like we're getting cut off, because I can't show her and she's getting older, and then I've got my nieces and nephews and I can't show them, so it feels like they're missing out because they don't get to learn the same stuff that I did. And even though in the big picture it only seems like a small thing, but it's pretty important. Like even the old man weed, you can't just go down to the forest and get it, you have to search and go sometimes off country to go and get it, and you shouldn't have to, because you're not meant to take it from other people's country anyways. And when the kids get sick, I'd rather go down and get old man weed than go to the chemist and buy all their medicines, because I don't think that many of them work. I think sometimes they prolong the sickness. And I'd rather get the old man weed and fix them up, and there's other ones for headaches instead of pumping the Panadols and that into the kids. There is one way I explain with the water, is my nan said that when she was in her 30s, 40s, she could see her feet. When my mum was in her teens, she could see her knees and under the water. And then when I was about 14, 15, you could see up to your waist. Now my daughter can't hold her hand 5 centimetres under the water and see it. You know, so you look at it like that, and it tells you how bad it's got. And that's in 4 generations. So it'd be good just to be able to see your waist. If we got back to that, because then at least the water's clear and the animals are surviving.
For this scar, this would be a small canoe. We've got scars through here that have been used for making shields, coolaments, wide variety of things. Some are used for markers. We've also got significant ring trees through here, which are also used, if you got someone from another tribe coming through country, they wouldn't be able to pass that point unless they had got permission. And the way they used to do that is they'd go out and kill a kangaroo or an emu and leave some of it in the middle of the ring tree, and they weren't allowed to go past that point unless someone from that mob come and checked it and took the offering out of there. Then that was their way of giving permission. Well, you may pass through here, you've got permission to do it. This was a traditional oven ground, cooking area. This is your traditional kitchen. You know, you find axe head flakes that they used to use to work the tools and that to sharpen them up. There's motorbike track that used to come straight past here. The reason we put it in here because actually they've altered it and it used to go straight over the middle of the site. And that was another factor why we had to put the fence up, because it was uncovering artefacts and that we wanted to try and keep protected and safe. This spot is where the inlet to the floodplains are. We've got a future plan with Melbourne, which is looking at replacing all the old culverts, maybe putting in some regulators and some locks to help, when the water is in there, to help lock it in for the time needed before it's allowed let out. And it's already in a natural structure, so we don't want to alter it too much. We just want to come up with a way to help manage to keep the water in for as long as necessary for the plants and animals. This part of the park is actually going to be renamed Morgan's Bend, and the reason for that, this is a really significant place for my family. This is where we have our sorry business. Like we've had funeral services, celebrated major events like 18th, 21st, birthday parties. This is just basically a spiritual healing place, and it's always been a special spot. This bushland's only less than 7.5 hectares in size, but it's probably got the most concentration of significant Aboriginal sites through here, in excess of 500, which range from a whole range, which middens, ovens, scar trees, burial sites, the whole lot. After the floods, as soon as we could get in, we went in and set up 4 plots through the Nye Vinifera Park, and we documented within those plots the different varieties of plants that are coming back. And one of the most significant ones I've noticed was the old man weed, which was a traditional medicinal plant that was used. There was none of it growing during the drought period, but as soon as the water come back and it started to recede, it started popping up everywhere again. So and just seeing that gives me great pride and happiness. Just seeing that, knowing it is coming back, it is going to be healthy, it's strong. If we work in partnership as management, we could probably together with a pool of all the knowledge we've got, their practical experience over managing it for so long, but our traditional knowledge, you'll probably find we can manage it just as good, if not better, and it'll probably bring more tourism and whatever else to meet their criteria, but also to meet our criteria, we get our traditional plants and just general health of the forest and the park, which is what we aim for.
Ideally, I'd like to see the DSE get some of our people sitting down, talking with DSE and being a part of their management plan. And when they want to change it, then we should have the right to say. At the end of the day, that's how it just should be.
Let's get down to the table, let's sit around the table and let's talk about utilising the water to the sense of sharing, right? Because it's ours too,
It'll do absolute wonders for our culture, but I think it would also do wonders for the whole community.
If it's what you built, if it's part of you and it's in your blood and you're passionate about it, all the struggle in the world's worth it. What, you want the hat, do you? And that's probably one of the biggest things Uncle Sam's ever taught me, is not to give up with it. If you think it's right, and just keep fighting, keep pushing, because eventually someone will listen.